Ladies and gentlemen, polish your pendulum, energize your escape wheel, and oil up your cogs.
Because it's time to talk Tull to me.
I'm Omen Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together we are Feckless Momes.
And this is Talk Tull to Me, your weekly trip down memory lane, the one-way lane that is Jethro Tull Boulevard.
There is no way back. It's a dead end.
There's no turning back. You will hit the wall. You might as well just listen to Jethro Tull's discography in the process.
Yeah, that's right. Week by week, we take an individual song and devote an entire episode to that song. We take out our ocular enhancements and peer deeply into the inner workings, the cogs and wheels of each song, looking at the mechanics and the soul of that piece of music.
Fact. Very true.
And Nick, what are we listening to this week?
Actually, before we get into it, I think we need a little housekeeping going on.
Oh, okay. Here. Tell me about it.
First of all, I just want to call back to the third song off of Benefit. I came to this realization as I was editing it.
Okay.
And I need to clarify something.
Yeah, this is maybe the first not retraction, correction?
Just clarification. Addendum, yeah.
Okay.
Certainly not the first one that should have happened, but it's the first one that we're actually doing. So, Alive and Well and Living In.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a half an hour of us being like, I don't know. Living In. Living In is a British term, a British English term for basically cohabitation.
I see.
It's for people who are not affianced, for people who are not married. They are a couple and they're living together.
Oh, is it the in the States we say living in sin? Is it that same phrase just without that last word? Is the sin implied? Is it a silent sin?
I thought you were being facetious.
No, I'm totally not.
But you're
Nick, you know me, I'm never being facetious about anything.
And you just came up with the term silent sin, and I need to use that everywhere. That's what a great term.
Thank you.
I guess you're right. I guess it's likely that that's what living in refers to.
Well, at any rate, it sounds like your realization about the term brings some further clarity to the song.
It does. It really kind of hammers home what we were thinking, and I think it in re-listening to it, it makes it feel, it puts a more definitive headspace before I even go into the song now.
Yeah.
So
right.
Just go back and listen to that episode and that song again. That was only 4 weeks ago. It was a month ago. So
yeah. With any luck, you skipped that episode and by chance have fallen upon this addendum now.
In the future,
if we could only turn back time, Nick, we would have addendumized that episode. But here we are. Here we are in the present.
Yep, I just don't have the time for that, because that would be a permanent full-time job, adding addendums to every single one of these episodes.
If only we had a time for everything.
A time for everything?
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Omen, I'm not done yet.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to foreshorten your addendum.
This is not an addendum. This is a question for you, actually.
Oh my.
Have you been straying outside of our podcast relationship?
Oh. We never said that we were exclusive in the podcast world.
That's true. We're an open podcast.
I also want to point out that I have not been hosting any other podcasts,
Okay.
but it's true. It's true. I was featured on another podcast recently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised that you noticed.
I did, and I listened to it today. Thank you very much.
I haven't listened to it. How is it?
It is exactly what I would expect from Omen Sade.
The thing, just for clarification, the thing that Nick is so saltily referring to is
Oh, there's more salt. Prepared. Keep hydrating.
is my theater company was featured on a podcast about the use of the voice in performance. It's the New York Vocal Coaching Podcast.
And your theater company?
Is oh my god, why
Bros,
can I not?
Bros
Thank
do
you.
pros. How am I answering that question?
Couldn't really think of feckless moms.
It was
My
it
my
was
theater company is called Bros Do Pros.
I'm
Thank you,
pretty
Nick.
sure it was episode 15. And thanks for bringing
It's
it full
scary
circle.
how much you know about this.
Thanks for bringing it full circle, because there was a distinct lack of mentioning feckless moms.
Okay. It never came up.
No, I mean, when he asked how you guys like work together and finding the right people to work with, I thought for sure like you would say,
Oh my
well,
God.
well, we
I
can't
can't
have
believe I'm
feckless
being
moms.
blindsided by this on my own podcast. I thought this was a safe space, Nick.
So did I, Omen. So did I.
Well, yeah, you're right. I should have cross-pollinated, and if I ever am invited to do a podcast again, which after this shame I think is pretty doubtful that I would accept, I will be sure to plug Feckless Moms. However, I will say that it sounds like, based on recent communication from our fandom, that we hardly need that plugging because we have been receiving some fan mail.
Yeah, so we got an email with the subject all in caps, so he's clearly screaming. It says, "Love it."
Love it!
Love it! From a chap named Jesse.
That's right.
He's a native of Ithaca, New York.
A fellow upstater like us.
And he says he grew up going to the Sterling Renaissance Festival where you and I met.
We did meet there.
And became crazy people.
And we just wanted to thank Jesse for his wonderful email. It really means a lot to us to hear back from all of our fan, and thank you for keeping us honest and reminding us that this is, that the music of Jethro Tull really has affected a lot of people. Just to read one little quote. Genius, period. So funny, period. So smart, period. And now I know what I'm going to put on my gravestone. So thank you, Jesse.
I thought it was going to be on your business card.
No.
Definitely not the most fruitful of quotes. I'm a fan of...
It's the most succinct quote.
I mean, it is. I'm a fan of, "I love your show so much. It lights up my imagination and brings me back to the work. Your depth of understanding, interpretations, insight, and intellect is superb."
Oh, thank you, Nick.
Yeah,
I mean, thank you, Jesse.
You just set me up to read that to you. That's going to be your ringtone for me now, isn't it?
That's right. Well, so again, thank you, Jesse, so much.
Absolutely, yeah.
We really love to hear from our fans, and so keep those emails coming. It just gives us another reason to live.
That's true, and I encourage emails, and I would genuinely love to know how you got into Tull.
Yeah.
Whether you're old enough to have bought their first album, or you borrowed your brother's copy of Benefit on vinyl, or you got dragged to a show, or like us, like you picked up your dad's lime green cassette of War Child and listened to it ad nauseum.
My goodness.
So because Tull is so niche, particularly for someone of our generation, of the elder millennials and younger, like I want to know how you got into it.
Yeah.
Generally, it's going to be an older brother or a parent's vinyl collection or something, but I would still love to hear it. I would love to hear those stories. And I would also love to hear how you found Talk Tull to Me, too.
Do you mind if I tell you my first contact with Tull? I don't think I've ever told you.
If you were introduced to Talk Tull to Me on your parents' vinyl, I would love to know that story.
No, the first time I ever heard anything by Jethro Tull, it was because a friend of mine that I went to high school with gave me, I think she made me a mixed CD
Oh, yeah, that's right.
back in those days, and put Aqualung on it because I played the flute at the time, and she was like, I think you would like to hear this.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, did I ever.
And that, of all the songs on that mix, that spurred you to look into Tull, essentially?
It sure did, yeah. I went out and bought an album. I mean, there were other songs on there that I didn't go, and pursue, even though I appreciated them. But there was something so unique and so arresting about the sound that I just, it just compelled me. The power of Tull compelled me.
It's my favorite part of The Exorcist. That's interesting because I think certainly for people our age, especially someone in your position where you hadn't really been raised on classic rock, to be introduced to Aqualung, that could have completely gone the opposite way, flute or not.
Yep. Wait, what do you mean?
I mean, you could have.
It could have turned me off.
Absolutely, you could have been turned off. You could have been like, "Oh, rock flute, okay, great," but still.
No, I think it was something. I think it was precisely because it was rock flute. I was like, wait a minute, maybe all this rock and roll that I've heard so much about isn't just nonsense. Nick, I don't mean to get us off of this tremendously fascinating conversation, but should we perhaps talk about the song at hand?
I mean, I guess we should. But I'm also curious, who was that, Katie? I wonder how she knew Aqualung.
Well, because she was a cultured person and had a general awareness of music.
I don't know what to say to that. I think now is as good a time as any for a time for everything. And I never realized there was a question mark until you pointed it out at the end of the last episode, and now I can't not hear it.
A time. So Nick, shall we have a listen to Shall we have a listen to A Time for Everything?
Yes.
Let's have a listen.
Let's have a listen.
It seemed there would always be a time for
Wow.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Yeah. That's Nick.
Yeah, Omen.
It's one of the shorter songs on Benefit. It's one of the more succinct songs on Benefit.
That always surprises me with this song.
I know.
It
seems so long.
How short it's like, it's 3 stanzas tops is the lyrics. Yeah. This song, it's not even 3 minutes. It's like 2:44. And it always, in my mind, this song feels like it should be longer. And
yeah,
is that ironic because of the content of the song? And
right, I know it's sort of interesting. I mean, I was going to say this as a joke, but like sort of seriously, do you think that there is an effect of the stretching of time in this song? That like, what musically about it makes it seem longer than it is? And usually when you say that something seems longer than it is in terms of entertainment, let's be specific. That's usually a negative thing. It's like, oh yeah, the play was 2 hours long, but it felt like 4. That's usually not a nice thing to say.
Right.
But in this case, it's like, how did they create so much space within such a short amount of time?
This song feels so long, but it's not long enough. I don't know. It's peculiar because there is a lot of repetition, which you would think maybe you just lose track of it because the musically it's repetitive, but you would think that would, with less variation, it would feel quicker, you know?
Yeah. Let's break it down musically. So we have this incredible bass riff that
Mhm.
carries the song through. And I think that, there are some points when the flute and the guitar kind of go off into these fantasies, and the bass line is really keeping it grounded in a way.
Yeah.
And I think that slight tension between the steady beat and that steady repeated riff and the flute and the guitar kind of going off on these extreme journeys is, for me, what creates a little bit of that feeling of expansiveness.
Yes. It feels less structured, I guess. It feels like they're just kind of riffing and they're just using Glenn's bass as a backbone.
Right.
And it's really, maybe this kind of ties back into some of their blues jazzy roots of knowing, okay, this song is going to be in this key, it's going to be this time signature, it's going to have this sound to it, let's just do it.
It's funny though because my feeling listening to this song is that even though on the face of it it gives you this feeling of being a little bit unstructured, it's actually very a very mature composition.
Mm-hmm.
The flute and the guitar are going in unison
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of the time. There are some very precise changes from what you might call the chorus to the back to the verse, even though there's a little bit. And it really feels like everyone is playing with a very keen sense of each other in a way that isn't necessarily the case on all of the rest of this album. There's something that feels very well composed about this to me, and is maybe that's chance, maybe that's partially chance,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's just well constructed. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a good note. Well constructed feels like a really good adjective to apply to this, because there's obviously some level of thought process behind the meandering, even though it is meant to feel light and airy. Even though it's not, it's actually not really. It's kind of a heavier tone.
But it has moments. It has moments where the flute. My favorite is that little riff where the flute goes, like flute do 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 do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was actually I heard an interview with Martin Barr who would say, and I'm sure this applies to a lot of things, he was asked about guitar solos. And he said, sure, in the studio, when you're trying to figure it out, it may be the first time that you play it, but you're going to play it for the next 50 years exactly the same way.
Right.
Because
right.
people know what that guitar improvisation, great big air quotes, sounds like.
Yeah.
You know? And
that's
that's
so interesting.
That's what this is. That's exactly what this
Right.
is. And it doesn't feel an improvisation with so much reckless abandon that some others have.
Yeah.
But it's not, on the surface, it's not super like, this is how the song goes, this is how we play this song.
It's got a really good balance of the feeling of improvisation and the feeling of composition. And I do think that for me, some songs within the Jethro Tull canon, especially the early stuff, can feel a bit too improvised and out of control, and sometimes in the later stuff it can feel a little bit too composed. And this is just like, I feel like this is a really beautiful balance of those two things.
Yeah. I think it has to do with that they know how these instruments are going to interact and work with one another. It's another really good instance of either Ian's voice or Ian's flute working in concert and almost communicating with that guitar, not playing at the same time, but they're going back and forth.
Except when the flute and the guitar are in unison.
Not the whole time, are they?
No.
Yeah,
but just for that one riff. Yeah, but I see what you mean.
Yeah, and it feels like they're really finally gelling. Not that they haven't, but this is a
new
nice
level.
Yeah, this works so well. And I think another aspect of what makes it feel like a longer song is it's not super crazy fast. Like it's steady and it moves.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no level of, I think at least I've applied this to a handful of the songs up until this point, that level of manicness isn't there on this song.
No, it's got a sense of reverie without feeling out of control. It's really cool. I want to point out there's one cool thing that I think we could speculate about, which is at about 1 minute 20 seconds, there is a distortion on the guitar, which sounds almost like feedback.
Yep. I have that in my notes.
And I wonder if it was intentional, or I wonder if it was a thing that happened in the studio and they listened to it and they were like, that sounds cool, let's keep it.
Yeah.
And I really think it could be either one. I
was listening to this song in preparation, and my lovely wife, who will be polite and say just does not like Jethro Tull, she heard that, and she, of course, I've been listening to this for the last 16 years, so I know when that comes up. She looked around the room and was like a dog hearing a high-pitched noise. She needed to find the source of that awful, awful cacophony and put an end to it. And she asked me, she's like, what is that? And I had to
She thought there was something wrong with the speaker.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to explain. Nope, part of the song.
There was something wrong with nothing.
With nothing.
Brilliant. Shall we so we've kind of talked about the music.
Mm-hmm.
Should we transition and talk about the mind-melting, opaque Zen koan style lyrics that we have here?
Yeah.
That the sort of Doctor Strange fabric of time and space confronting poetry that Ian Anderson has written.
Well, I the perfect segue, that held distortion note.
Yeah.
I think if that weren't in there, this song musically would be perfect.
Ooh.
And putting that in there shows even though it's a structured and clearly a planned for act, it is degradation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But it's also a bit of humanity, isn't it?
Well, I mean, that is the content of the song itself. Yeah.
There's some art traditions of art which say that you shouldn't ever make a perfect piece, because if you do, your soul will become trapped.
Ugh.
And so there are some artists of high level skill who will always introduce on purpose one flaw, one mistake, quote unquote, into their work.
But yeah, isn't that subjective though? Whatever they see as a mistake,
Well, I think it's like, there's the I think that certain art forms can have a follow certain rules to
Sure.
a point of perfection.
Sure.
To a point of acknowledged perfection by the that culture or that tradition.
That was Martin Barr being like, "Oh crap, this song is too good. Let me just hold this note real quick."
Or it's a beautiful happy accident, which is another part of art.
That's true. And we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Because both Ian Anderson and Martin Barr lost their souls centuries ago.
Long ago. All right, let's talk about the lyrics. Once it seemed there would always be a time for everything. Ages past, I knew at last, my life had never been. Beware the Jabberwock, my son.
Snicker-snack went Ian's flute. His
Flute.
vorpal flute.
Wow. I mean, okay. Jeez. This is the kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff where it's like, no wonder everyone in the 70s was doing drugs. Listen to what they were listening to.
Yeah. Even though Tull very much was not.
The soberest rock and rollers ever.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to point out that the content of this, is talking about 50 years and I'm filled with tears and joys. I never cried. This is still being written by someone in their early 20s.
Yeah.
So it's just funny to me. It's like this is more evidence that Ian Anderson has always had the soul of an old man. A grumpy old man.
That's legit in my notes. Even though Ian is in his early 20s, his super old man soul is showing.
It is. It really is.
And I'm not sure it's...
Well, it has to. Ian Anderson has to exist because to balance out Prince. You know what I mean? Like Prince,
there it is.
Who knows
Bowie,
how old he ever was, right? And Bowie, but they were always agelessly young.
Yeah.
No matter how old they got. Ian Anderson. So the universe had to balance it out by providing us with Ian Anderson, who has always been as old as time itself, even when he was in his early 20s and had lots of hair.
That is, I mean, we could stop the podcast now. I think we
probably should.
We solved it. We can't get any better than that.
I have a specific lyrics question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. A lot of this is, I mean, we haven't really even talked about what this song is about, but a lot of it I sort of like have a bit of a handle on. I think that
mm-hmm.
it's about like the perception of time, right? And how time can pass quite quickly without you realizing it, and how too much thinking about it can result in inaction, which itself is the loss of time.
Mm-hmm.
Are we on sort of the same page with that?
I also think, yes, but I don't think it's as philosophically unstable as that. I think
Okay.
I think, honestly, I think some of it's just like the narrator is a man who did nothing with his life and finally and realizes it. I think it could be that simple.
The thing that makes me say that it's like a Zen koan is that it seems contradictory. It seems like one of those Escher paintings where the building has all of its walls crossed in an impossible way.
Yeah.
Because the lyrics are, there's no time for everything. No time for everything. And yet it seems like the message is, don't get caught up in thinking about whether or not you have time for things. Go and do the things, otherwise your whole life will pass you by and you will have done nothing. So it's like there's no time for everything, so go and do the thing that you want to do.
Yeah. Don't get hung up about the fact that you can't get everything done. Do your passion now.
There is now.
Do your thing now. There is now. Don't be like me 50 years after the fact, looking back and seeing that I haven't done anything. I haven't.
It's the regret of inaction.
I'd been missing what time could bring. I'm filled with tears and joys I've never cried. It is a flat line of chronology.
Yeah. It's missing out on what could have been.
Yeah, regardless of whatever that was.
The specific line that I'm a little bit confused by is, burn the wagon and chain the mule, the past is all denied.
Burn the wagon and chain the mule, the past is all denied.
What are we talking about here?
I don't know if this is too simple, but maybe it's an Occam's razor thing where it's obviously the right choice. Where is that Occam's razor? where it's the right
Yeah, the
simplest answer is the right one.
Probably the right answer. Yeah.
Where like it's an example. I worked my whole life as a farmer because I was supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm regretting that past. So my negative reaction is to burn the wagon and chain the mule.
Interesting.
You know, I mean, that is the only thing that I can put on that. And I don't think this is a case of living in where it's just a Britishism. Burn the wagon and chain. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know.
I burned the wagon down at the pub.
Oh, chain the mule.
Chain me mule, it's cold out here. I think I have a bit more of a philosophical.
Burn the wagon, it's cold down here makes way more sense.
Oh, my old mule and chain.
Philosophical. Sorry, go.
Yeah, philosophical. So for me, like the mule represents work.
Mm-hmm.
So like to chain the mule is to deny to make impossible all the work that one could have done with the mule. And the wagon is like, no, a wagon is used to transport goods. And so to burn a wagon is to like
well, burning the wagon, if you're looking at it that way, burning the wagon is the equivalent of chaining the mule.
Well, it's like the wagon is what you have produced, and the mule is the producing force.
Okay.
So it's like life denying, right? It's like I think that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah.
It's like they're both symbols of productivity related.
Yeah. I like the chain the mule thing. I think burn the wagon could also be applied to like get rid of all of your earthly your earthly possessions. Everything that you've worked for, burn it. Because what did you work for?
Right.
50 years after, and you look back and you've married a hedgehog of a woman and had 3 ungrateful kids. And
that's very specific, Nick.
Despite her loathing of Jethro Tull, I am a very happily married man.
Oh, yes. Well, and some people would like to marry a hedgehog.
Fair enough. Whatever your kink is, I'm as long as it is a consenting hedgehog. I am
consenting hedgehog.
Yep. That was the name of my my third prog rock album.
Oh my! Wow. So this is clearly a short and provocative song.
Yeah.
Short and provocative, much
like you.
Me. Thank you. Well, do we have anything else to say about this?
Nothing specific, just I think this is one of my favorites off this album.
Yeah, it's
not a wower, you know, it's not a quick punch in the face of like really super strong music, but
it sticks with you.
It sticks with you, and it's a lot like for Michael Collins, Jeffrey, and me, where if you sit and really absorb this song, both musically and lyrically, like it really hits you. It really goes home.
It's a strong brew.
Yeah, it's a potent.
It's like a barley wine.
It's a potent poultice.
Join us on our other podcast, Pontificate Potent Poultices. To me,
poultices.
Nick, I have a question for you.
Yes, Omen, go.
If this song was a tattoo, what tattoo would it be, and what part of the body would it be on?
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Okay, I wanted to go joke immediately, but I like this question too much. It would be... oh gosh. It would be something in some language that the person getting the tattoo knows, but most people don't. And it would be some like really dark, almost want to say cynical, but just like kind of a dark view on the world. It's like a 3-word quote or a 4-word quote.
Mm.
And it would be...
So it's a text. It's a text.
It's actual text,
tattoo.
yeah.
Okay,
A simple font, no serifs, obviously.
Obviously, no serifs. Jesus.
And honestly, I think it would be like right on the inside of the wrist, because
Wow.
it would be provocative enough for people to see it and be like, "What the heck does that mean?"
Yeah.
But it's also most people wouldn't ask.
You are describing the tattoo that I have seen on every barista in New York City in the last month.
Yeah, but usually that is like, find life before it finds you, or reach for the stars.
it's all some sort of cryptic like other languagey, sort of like deeply meaningful to that person, and no one else knows what it's about because I'm cool that way and I have a deep soul.
Okay, so you're saying my answer was too
I'm not saying your answer is
millennial
too anything.
hipster? Is that what
No,
you're saying?
I'm saying your answer is right on brand for our generation.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
You are the king of the millennials.
Oh, God, please. I abdicate that throne before my butt even touches the velvet cushion.
Thank you for this crown. I will now sell it to pay off my mortgage.
Gold rates have got to be garbage
Ooh.
right now. Okay, so I think that
Wow.
was a very tasty episode.
Yeah. Mm.
We are on to song number 8
Oh my goodness.
next week.
What is it?
It is number 3 off of side B, and it is Inside.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, even though there's not a time for everything, there is time to go on to your podcatcher of choice, rate, review us, send us those emails, keep them coming. Send us a picture of what you're doing while listening to this podcast.
Yeah. I hear that on other podcasts.
That's
Do
where
that
I got
for
it
us.
from.
Thanks, other podcasts. So, yeah, great. Awesome. I can't wait to hear from more fans. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Until next week, I'm Nick McGill.
I'm Omen Sade.
And this is Talk Tull. No. We are Feckless Momes.
Let's start again. I'm Nick McGill.
And I'm Omen Sade.
This is Talk Tull to Me.
And we are Feckless Momes.
Talk Tull to Me is a proud member of the Feckless Momes audio network.
Oi! Who chained this mule?
Burn my wagon!